Welcome to the Poor Man's Gourmet Kitchen, where we share gourmet recipes at a low-budget wonder. Now check this out.
Here I've got a beautiful rack of ribs. The first thing we want to do is clean it and separate this membrane. And what you want to do is take a paper towel and just grab the edge of it because it's really slippery. Just give it a good pull and you should be able to take it all the way down and off. Make sure you get all of it too. Then you come back with a knife and you score the back side of it. Only the side with the bones. This allows the flavor to penetrate through the meat. Then you're going to cut every individual bone right out. Separate every rib. And once you've got a good pile like this, you can start poaching. This is going to take about 25 minutes. Make sure everything's underneath the water and bring it to a boil. Then you'll start to see the blood separate like this. It's no big deal, that's normal. But what you're looking for is the color on the end of these bones. You want to make sure with your fingernail you can't scratch out any more red. Then you're going to strain them. Then come back over them and give them a good rinse. Now here's our ingredients. Cilantro, green onion, soy sauce, Michoud cooking wine, chicken broth. I've got some black pepper, some anise, some garlic. And what we're going to do is go right over the top of that with the chicken stock first. Fill that all the way back to the top. Then a little bit of soy sauce. Throw in that bunch of onions, that cilantro, some pepper, that Michoud cooking wine, and that anise. You can throw some ginger in there as well if you'd like. We'll just go with the garlic. Get that down in there. And then come back about every 5 minutes and give it a good stir. Make sure none of the ribs are burning on the bottom. It's going to take about an hour to fully cook and infuse this flavor. I like to throw in a little bit of sugar, and this is optional. Just like my ribs to be a little sweet. Also a little sesame oil. Again, optional. But make sure that these ribs are always covered with liquid. Now what you're looking for is this meat. When it's trying to separate from the bone, you don't want it to fall off the bone. You want it right before it does. And you can pull every one of these out, throw them on a pan and pull them off. Now if you'd like, you can eat them this way because they are delicious. Or you can wait till the next step. Either way, at this point, they're good to go. And this rib broth can be saved too. This stuff is excellent in wonton soup. All you do is strain it like this. As you can see, it's got a real nice color to it. Trust me, that flavor's great. And now the next step, all you got to do is drop these in a fryer. Put them in for just a couple minutes. And in the meantime, you want to mix a little bit of sugar and some 5-spice powder. If you don't have 5-spice powder, you can just use cinnamon. And there's your ratio. And when these are done, all you've got to do is throw them in a big old bowl like this and take a heaping tablespoon of that mixture, throw it right over the top, and give them a good toss. And your presentation can be fun, just stacking it up like a log cabin. And of course, our sugar and 5-spice powder. And there you have it. Northern short ribs right here in the Poor Man's Gourmet kitchen.
Thank you for watching, and be sure to stop by PoorMansGourmetKitchen.com for more recipes and exact ingredients. Here I've got 4 clean beef short ribs. The fat, the silver skin, and the membrane from the back of the bones has all been removed. Now just add salt and pepper. And be sure to get all sides of these ribs. Now this is going to be pretty much a braised short rib recipe, only I'm not going to dunk these in flour. But you should do it if you prefer. Then add some olive oil to a hot, medium-sized pot. Then drop each one of the short ribs, meat side down, into the hot oil and begin to sear. You want to spend several minutes on each side before you turn. And just so you know, once you're done searing, you can add the ribs, along with the rest of the ingredients, to a roasting pan for the oven or a crock pot for your countertop if you just don't have the time. And they're going to be cooking for quite a while, so go ahead and cover it with the lid so it can concentrate on cooking that meat. In the meantime, chop some onion, some carrot, and some celery. And once you start seeing some good color on that meat, you can go ahead and push those ribs aside and add in all those vegetables. And it's a good idea to go ahead and mix these in with the ribs. Let them saute in that olive oil and the droppings from the meat. Soak in all that flavor. Let them steam under that lid for a few minutes too. And when you come back, you'll see that they've softened up quite a bit. So now's a good time to add some chopped garlic and some tarragon. And you want to go ahead and just give everything a good stir. Make sure that garlic and tarragon cooks and flavors everything in the pot. And once you're convinced it's ready, go ahead and add a little bit of flour. And of course, be sure you mix that in real good. This is going to soak up all that fat, make a light roux, and make it possible to make our gravy. But I usually only spend a couple minutes doing this. Half of the flavor is already in the pot. The rest we'll be adding now, starting with some red wine. The cheaper the better. I'm also going to add a little bit of brandy. And it looks like I'm finishing this bottle off. Now some beef broth, but you can use vegetable or chicken, whatever you got. Again, just stir all the ingredients together, mix it thoroughly. The easy part is on its way. Just cover with the lid one last time and turn the stove down to a simmer and cook for at least an hour. Now's a good time to make your mashed potatoes, and if you don't have a good recipe for these, you definitely need to check out my garlic mashed potatoes recipe. I throw in a few curveballs that make these the best. But if I haven't earned your trust yet, don't take my word for it. Try them yourself. Now I should have mentioned that it's good to cook these in that pot for that hour, meat side down. It'll really help soften up that beef. And in a hot pan, you want to drop one rib at a time with a ladle full of that gravy so you can help it reduce down a bit. And it won't even take more than a minute to do this. But you can prep each serving with the mashed potatoes on a plate. Come back in and drop that one rib right over the top of the mash. Then go ahead and smother with the rest of that gravy. Tell me that doesn't look delicious. And there you have it. Beef short ribs right here in the Poor Man's Gourmet Kitchen. Thank you for watching, and be sure to stop by PoorMansGourmetKitchen.com for more recipes and exact ingredients. Alright, let's give you a good look at this rack of ribs. The first thing you want to do is just flip it over and remove the membrane right here where my thumb is, and take a paper towel, and if you can grip it on both sides, you can remove it by pulling it all the way down the rack of ribs. Just like that. Then come back with a knife and score all the way down. Now, even though these are oven-baked ribs, you can still achieve that smoky flavor you'd get from a smoker or a grill by adding liquid smoke and smearing across the whole top of the rack of ribs. Then the seasoning's simple. Just come over the top with some kosher salt, then hit it with some black pepper, and then I like to shake cumin down the whole top as well. Then press the meat firmly, and it should look something like this. Now all you gotta do is throw the rack into an oven-safe pan, and then cover it lightly with tin foil. Now this isn't a recipe you want to seal up completely. You want to leave it a little bit loose on the side so it can let out some steam. Then you can put it into the oven, and we're going to start baking at 300 degrees for 2.5 out of the 3 hours of baking. As you can see, there's 30 minutes left on the clock, and we're going to bump this temperature all the way up to 350. Then we're going to pull the tin foil off and put it back in for the remaining 30 minutes. And when you're done, it should look something like this. And I would highly recommend using a spatula or something that you can use to transport it so it doesn't fall apart, because it is that tender. But first I like to brush some olive oil, make it shine, then you want to flip them back over before you do your cutting. As you can see here, it's just one nice easy smooth slice. And I did promise fall off the bone tender. See how I can just rip that right off? Check out this meat right here. Look at this. And just push it right down, falls right apart. See that there? I can promise you, I'm going to eat that piece. Now watch this knife just glide between every bone. So tender. Now we'll just throw it on a plate. And what's ribs without a baked potato and a side of barbecue sauce? And there you have it, oven baked ribs right here in the Poor Man's Gourmet kitchen. Thank you for watching, and be sure to stop by PoorMansGourmetKitchen.com for more recipes and exact ingredients. Here I've got a gorgeous rack of beef ribs. Just want to give them a quick flip and begin to remove the membrane from the back of the bones. They're generally too slippery to grip with just your fingers, so you want to use a towel, or in this case a paper towel, to pull it clean. Now if you notice, there's a lot of fat still left on the bigger bones here. If you're grilling face down or smoking your ribs, it's not a bad idea to leave this on. But I'm going to go ahead and trim and clean it up. Theoretically, it does add more flavor, but because I'm roasting meat side up, it's really not going to matter. Just be sure to score the bones after whatever you decide. Now just give them a quick flip back over, and go ahead and season them with kosher salt and pepper. And this is really all you need if you want to bake, grill, or smoke your ribs. So once you've pressed all the seasoning into the meat, you're pretty much ready to go if that's how you like it. But a while back I gave you a recipe for my brisket rub, and I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle that right over the top. There's just too many ingredients in this rub to not take advantage of and add all that flavor to these beef ribs. And if your ribs are still cold, it's not a bad idea to let these sit out until they hit room temperature and marinate with all that seasoning. Then you can just add it to a roasting pan. Get it completely covered up, seal it where it's practically airtight, and take it straight to the oven. And I like to bake these at 300 degrees Fahrenheit for approximately 3 hours. And when they're done, they'll look something like this. And if you'd like, you can eat them at this point. There's certainly plenty of flavor. But if you're like me and you want to take it to the next level, check out this barbecue sauce recipe I posted a while back. I'm going to add this right over the top. Then just brush it in and spread it evenly. Then it's not a bad idea to go ahead and sink that sauce into those ribs with a little more baking. And I turn it up to 350 for another 10 minutes. You get the point. Not too shabby. But of course this is only the small side. And there you have it. Oven-baked barbecue beef ribs right here in the Poor Man's Gourmet Kitchen. Thank you for watching, and be sure to stop by PoorMansGourmetKitchen.com for more recipes and exact ingredients. Here I've got a beautiful rack of spare ribs. And the first thing you want to do is flip this over so you can remove the membrane. Using a napkin or a paper towel makes it a lot easier to grip, and you can just pull it all the way across the bottom. Once that's done, you want to score the backside of the ribs with a knife. Now you want to just flip the ribs back over again so you can season the other side. I'm using seafood boil seasoning because it's got all the kick, salt, and pepper you need. Now if you flip the ribs back over one last time, you can see that it makes it easier to see where to cut between each bone. This isn't necessary, but I feel like it gives it more flavor, more tenderness, and they're easier to handle when you're eating. Then I just pile them all into a bowl, and then I come back over them with my favorite barbecue sauce. And I've got this recipe in the description below and at the end of this video. Then you want to just smear it in and make sure that they're completely covered with this sauce. Now it's up to you whether or not you want to marinate your ribs or not. 30 minutes is enough time, but if you'd like to go a full 24 hours overnight in the fridge, you're more than welcome to do that. Just be sure that when you go to bake, that you lay all the ribs face down, meaning meat side down, so they can get that tenderness through the cooking process. Then just come back over the top with the leftover barbecue sauce from your bowl. Then just smear it in with a brush or a spoon. But it's important to seal these up. You can use a lid or you can use tin foil like I'm doing. Just make sure that you press it into the sides tight. Then you want to throw it in the oven, and you're going to bake these at 300 degrees for 2.5 hours. Then they should look something like this. Now they're not done at this point. You want to flip them back over so the meat side is now facing up. Then you want to drizzle more barbecue sauce over the top. Then you want to just brush it in, make sure it's all even across every one of these ribs. And then take them back to the oven without them covered. If you'd like, you can even take them outside of the grill. But you want to go at 350 degrees now for just 20 minutes. And when they're done, they should look something like this. Check out this tenderness. It really doesn't get much better than this. And there you have it. barbecue spare ribs right here in the Poor Man's Gourmet kitchen.
Thank you for watching, and be sure to stop by PoorMansGourmetKitchen.com for more recipes and exact ingredients.